So thank you so much, Rania, and distinguished panelists. It's really a pleasure to be part, with you today. And I also want to thank the audience for staying with us after lunch. I've prepared some slides, but I don't want to stick to the slides. I think I'll just build on the very interesting discussion that we've been having from the morning till now. So, and if I may start with two provocative questions. The first one is, it was said in the morning that we are targeting the 3% of the maritime-related emissions. So the question is, we might as well focus on the 97, right? That's the big chunk, and then let's leave aside the 3% for now. The second question is, we've been talking about sustainability and transition for some time, and so many of the challenges that were discussed and mentioned since the morning. For one is the financing, the infrastructure, the regulations, and the virtuous cycle that we've been discussing for some time now. So the question on that is, do we need to take some bold actions so that we move forward in our talks? So before I answer the questions, before I give my thoughts, I am Abdullah Sul-Abri. I'm representing today SOHAR Port and Freezone, which is the biggest industrial cluster in Oman and one of the biggest in the GCC. We're growing really so fast at a gross annual combined rate between 5 to 7% year on year. So the growth rate is really impressive in the port and the free zone. Now back to the questions. The first one is, why do we care on 3% on the maritime-related emissions? For one, is that the maritime is the backbone of international trade. So if we want to really transport the finished products, be it electric vehicles or electric boilers or anything like that, we need to use the ships, right? So that's the transportation of the finished products. And the second one, if we want to transport low carbon fuels, then also we would use the ships. The third one is that if we want to transport the products that are required to manufacture the green fuels in the first place, then we would need to use the ships, right? So it's really a fundamental backbone that we cannot just easily leave aside. The second question is, I fully agree. I've been into the energy business for more than 20 years now, and I see the discussions going and taking place on the many challenges that we're facing, starting with regulations and trying to make these regulations fit for purpose, at least for the time being, so that we see and we're breaking that watch and see cycle, and then we get going with the sustainability. And on that, indeed, some bold moves need to be taken, and with this, I'll be talking about what the things that we're doing in SOHAR Port and Freezone so that we break in this virtuous cycle. Sustainability and transition. Why do we even say sustainability? Does it mean that we are not sustainable in the first place? And why do we transition? Are we suboptimal already? So indeed, we are transitioning from one state to another state, looking into reducing and making our lives even better. The humanity has done a lot of good things, but we need to do it even more better moving into the future. So the first one that we need to do is phase out the dirty. So sustainability, it means there is some kind of suboptimal thingy in the process. So there's a dirt somewhere. So we need to phase out the dirt, or at least reduce the dirt. The second one is we need to clean the dirt. And the third one is that we need to really move into what could be the new economic engine so that we continue to grow our businesses and our economies. Within the context of Oman, and if I could focus now on the first subset, which is reducing the dirt, we've done in SOHAR Port a number of activities ranging from the demand side management, and that's energy efficiency, all the way to using biofuels. So that already reduces our scope 1 emissions by 20%. So that's already a big and impressive movement for the port and free zone. So that's 20% of at least the maritime emissions are reduced. We're also trying to clean up the dirt. So in many ways, indeed, we would still need to use oil, we would still need to use the gas, but then we need to really substitute the emissions. After all, we are seeking net zero, not real zero, right? We're seeking net zero. So net zero requires cleaning up of some sort. And in SOHAR Port and Freezone, we're really pushing at a massive rate for renewables. So far, we're having, at least in the next few months, we're commissioning around 1.5 gigawatts of renewables, but that should ramp up to 4 gigawatts by 2030, ramping up to 7 2035, and all the way to 8 gigawatts in 2040. So really, we've got a good and clear scoping of what this transition means to us, so that we, again, clean up some of those emissions. But secondly, we're taking some of the, and this is relevant to the third bucket, how do we generate and move on to really generate some of the opportunities so that we create new industries and economic engines. In the SOHAR Port and Freezone, we're really moving so much and so fast and well structured to really host the sustainable supply chains. So we're commissioning, starting in a few months' time, all the way in the coming years, sustainable supply chains like the polysilicon manufacturing and all the way to the wafers and the downstream of the polysilicon, so that we create a hub and manufacturing hub in Oman, in Sohar, in Oman, in the region for those sustainable supply chains. After all, if everybody is moving towards renewables, if everybody is keen to really start the business of transition, then we would need these industries in the first place. And with that, we break in that virtuous cycle of how do we reduce the costs, because if we shore in those industries in the Gulf, then we would establish the learning curve, we would reduce the soft, the capital cost as they usually call it, and it's around 20% of every capital of the total cost of every project. And then also we would get the whole supply chain going. And secondly, another bold step that we're taking, we're already exploiting the opportunity for the biofuels productions from the macroalgae. And macroalgae has a great potential to really absorb the CO2, but also produce some of the biofuels and some other high-value products in the marketplace. So these are the really bold steps that we're taking at the Port and Freezone. And of course, with that, we continue to collaborate with our stakeholders, with the service providers, to really move the needle forward towards achieving the net zero. We're moving towards net zero by 2050, in line with the government's aspiration to do so then. So with that, I finalize my talk. I think we're already behind time, but I really want to cascade the message that we're keen to work with every one of you to really exploit what can be exploited and partner moving forward. Thank you so much.